It's a golden time for athletes here in the Golden State. California became the first in the nation to allow college and high school players to profit off their name, image, and likeness, commonly known as NIL.
ABC 10's Devin Truby dives deeper into how this money is changing the game.
All-time leading scorer in women's college basketball.
From Caitlin Clark making more than $3 million to Reggie Bush suing to recoup money that he says he could have made, NIL is making headlines.
California was the first state to allow college athletes to be paid with the Fair Pay to Play Act of 2019. In 2021, the NCAA opened the floodgates for NIL. Today, the odds of being paid like a professional athlete while still in college, well, they're a little less than a Hail Mary, and they're getting better than ever before.
I think like a few years ago, it was just your top players that were making money through NIL, whether it be the quarterback or maybe it's a draftable player or the star of the team. Now every player is getting paid through NIL because it's part of the recruitment process.
Student athletes now have the right to be paid for the use of their name, photographs, autographs, and more. The dollar amounts are unknown, and there's no transparency requirement.
Because we went from athletes not affording meals to now living the life of luxury. And I've got quite a few athletes now that are making more than mom and dad combined.
Philip Red Miller has been a sports agent for 10 years, representing many big names in college football.
But I would say if you're in the SEC, you don't touch a dime the whole time. You could leave with, $400,000, at least over $250,000. Smaller schools, you could leave school with anywhere between $30,000 to $100,000 if you don't touch anything.
Here's how it works. The money the school pays players comes from what's called a collective, a company formed by wealthy alumni that essentially helps raise funds. They also help with contracts like Nike or Adidas, and even getting athletes high-end cars.
I completely agree with it being the Wild Wild West. These collectives are 501(c)s, and so if you're going to ask them to open their books, you're asking, churches to open their book. It's just not going to happen.
NCAA rules state that money is not for recruitment, but it happens anyways, turning 17 and 18-year-old athletes into big business and their moms and dads into agents.
Sometimes you'll get mom and dad that want to go in there right away and throw a number out as far as a market value on their son or daughter. And to be honest with you, that turns a lot of coaches away from that athlete, knowing it's just about the money for them and it's not about the love of the game.
Some of the top valued high school athletes in the state are playing at Folsom High School.
We've had so far this year at games in the fall, we've had USC has been here, Oregon has been here, Ole Miss has been here, UC Davis has been here, Sac State has been here. Every school in between, they come and they watch the kids play. They come and they watch the kids at spring practice. We had 100 coaches come. Orange Boise.
Head football coach Paul Doherty has players signed to USC, Notre Dame, Texas, University of Washington, and Alabama. He says his primary goal is for players to get a quality education.
We're going to sign 10 kids here this year, and that's an astronomical number. I think the national average for a high school is 1 every 10 years. So we're just incredibly fortunate to have a ton of caliber of players that can move on and play at the next level. And for some of them, the NIL money, it's a very real thing.
A very real possibility for junior quarterback and 5-star recruit Ryder Lyons.
He's really present, and he doesn't need NIL money, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to be just fine. Is it going to come into play? Is it going to be a part of the conversation? Yes, it is.
At Sacramento State, University Athletic Director Mike Orr says they're advertising a quality education first, but doesn't deny NIL money is a huge factor.
And it has had an impact, certainly, on our recruitment of student athletes and retention of student athletes. And we are doing everything we can here at Sacramento State to build up a strong name, image, and likeness program that student athletes can benefit from, but we still have some work to do.
It's why the Sac-12 Council, a group of local leaders, is raising money for a competitive NIL program as the Hornets look to move to a bigger athletic conference, raising $35 of their $50 million goal in just 24 hours. The collective is now pushing for $75 million in 10 years. This more than quadruples the current NIL fund at Sac State.
Certainly will make us competitive, I would say, almost any Division I program on the western part of the country. So.
Recently, state senators that helped make California the first state to pay student athletes called for transparency with schools' collectives. But Governor Newsom vetoed their bill, SB 906. If approved, it would have required all deals over $5,000 to be disclosed. Colleges would have to list the team, gender identity, year, and total amount provided to athletes.
I agree with that. If I was an agent for a player out in California, if I was a parent of an athlete, I don't want anyone else knowing how much my son or daughter is making. The athletes get enough scrutiny through the media as far as game performance. And you throw them in a city where somebody else knows how much they're making, you're just opening the door for crime, ridicule, whatever you want to call it. But it's just not safe.
A warning: with fame, money, there are no guarantees. Those I spoke to say, while a school may be willing to invest in you now, it can all disappear. It's still a long shot.
As I tell athletes, you're never going to see this money again come this easily. All you have to do is you wake up, you go to school, you work out, you play on Saturdays. That's the best job in the world, if you ask me.
Devin Truby, ABC 10.
Devin, thank you. The NCAA requires student athletes to report deals worth $600 or more to their college within 30 days. The colleges must report NIL data twice a year to the NCAA.